Hi, welcome to my first impressions video of the Tascam Portacapture X8. Now this is a much more niche device than the devices I usually tend to review on this channel. However, the videos I've seen on this device so far on YouTube have all been recorded and made with pre-release units of this device. And I've actually had a few issues that I think no one on YouTube mentioned so far. So I thought it would be good to quickly make this video for anyone who considers purchasing the Portacapture X8, just so you're informed and have the best possible purchasing decision. As a side note, you're currently hearing the Tascam Portacapture X8 recording in 192 kHz, 32-bit, and the microphone is a Sennheiser MKE600 boomed just above my head. Other than that, I'm not gonna give you any sample recordings from this device, and I also am not gonna go into the sound quality because there are other people way more qualified than me here on YouTube who I'm sure are gonna review this device and the sound quality in much more detail than me. Now, just as a quick overview, I'm sure you already know what this device is about, but you basically get 4 XLR TRS combo inputs. You get 2 inputs that have sort of condenser microphones that you can attach from Tascam. Those, in my testing, have been really cool. The only thing I didn't like about them was the build, because they feel quite plasticky and super light. I hope they hold up over time. I wouldn't be too confident if I would drop them, maybe attached to the unit, that they would survive. In comparison, I tried the Zoom H8 before, and this microphone capsule was built from metal and looked a lot more sturdy than this. However, I gotta say that the device itself, the build quality, is much better than the one I experienced with the Zoom H8. The plastic on the device itself feels much more sturdy, kinda like comparing the EOS 600D series to something like the EOS R6, so just a lot more confidence inspiring, and if I would drop the main unit itself, I would be more confident that it would survive than with the Zoom H8. In addition, this thing is completely built around this main touchscreen that you get in the middle. And you make all the changes either using the touchscreen or this big knob on the bottom that you can use to change all your faders and gains and stuff like that. So if you need to make fine adjustments, then you have this knob, which is really precise and really nice. And for everything else, you have the touchscreen basically. The other thing I want to quickly mention before I go into the issues that I had with the device is that the headphone preamp, in my experience, is really good. I didn't hear anyone mention this in the other reviews here on YouTube, might have missed it, but I tried this headphone preamp with the Biodynamic DT770 Pro, so these are 250 ohm headphones, and it was really loud and clear for me and sounded really good. So happy to say the headphone preamp is really good, and it seems also a lot better than the one in the Zoom H8, at least to me. With the intro done, let's get into the issues that I've been experiencing with my unit. First of all, I noticed quite significant backlight bleeding once I turned it on for the first time. I tried to capture it on video as best as possible, and I hope you can see it, but I can tell you that it is definitely quite distracting and really prominent in real life. This is an issue for me personally, and I'm definitely going to have this unit replaced. My replacement from Amazon is already on the way and will be here, I think, in 2 days, so I will definitely put a comment under the video to tell you whether the replacement unit has this problem or not. I haven't seen this issue on any of the other reviews on YouTube that I watched, so it seems like this is maybe a quality assurance issue. And the pre-release units that have been shipped to the reviewers definitely don't seem to have this issue. So yeah, let's see. I just think you should be aware of this, so when you consider buying this device and you receive it, you can check the screen for this defect. The other issue that I have with it is the audio interface functionality, which at least to me seems quite broken. The way it works is that when you connect the unit with USB-C to, for example, a MacBook, it exposes 8 inputs and 2 outputs to the MacBook Pro. So you can basically select from 8 inputs, let's say in Logic, and you can output to stereo to the device. And when you want to hear what you output from your computer, you have to map the 2 outputs, so these 2 USB-C outputs, to 2 of the inputs on the Tascam. And then basically use direct monitoring through the headphones to hear whatever you're outputting. Now this works well enough, and if you're just playing music, for example, it works okay. But the problem is that this signal that you map to the 2 inputs is always also relayed to the stereo mix. And this stereo mix gets put out from the Tascam on inputs 1 and 2. Now, if you are, for example, doing a video conference, then every video conferencing software I know uses inputs 1 and 2 as the input, if more than 2 are available. And the consequence is that everything now your computer does will be audible to anyone on the video conference. For example, if you get a notification, if you get an email, if for some reason you're listening to music or whatever, all of this will definitely be audible in your video conference. Now you might be saying, okay, then just turn off all the audio output on your computer. For example, use Do Not Disturb. And yes, that's a way to maybe prevent this, but personally, I don't want to rely on this. For example, if I give a big presentation, I don't want to rely on my computer staying silent. And instead, I wish there was a way to turn off this loopback functionality and just sort of bypass the mix when outputting something via USB-C and directly relaying it to the headphones. While just quickly editing this video, I realized that there might be another fix for this issue. If Tascam would allow us to take the stereo mix and instead of having it on the inputs 1 and 2, have it, for example, on inputs 5 and 6, or even better 7 and 8, so all the way in the end, then we could map the microphones that we want to use for the video conference simply to input 1 and 2, and every video conferencing software would automatically select the correct inputs. So maybe that would be a good fix, and a simple switch in the settings, I guess, would do. And as a workaround, what I'm going to do until this hopefully gets fixed in a software update, I'm just going to be connecting my headphones to the MacBook directly, which honestly is a shame because, as I said, I really like the headphone preamp in the Portacapture X8 and I wish I could use it also during video conferences. The second issue I'm having with the audio interface functionality is that the record settings on the device have to match the ones that your computer is outputting. Now, I guess this is a consequence of the device being able to record whatever you output via USB. But the issue is that when you connect this device via USB-C to, let's say, an iPad, by default, the iPad will output everything in 44.1 kHz. And this is fine, it works if you set the record settings the same way on the Tascam. But then when you, for example, listen to Apple Music and you have a song that's in high-res lossless, the iPad will switch its output to 96 kHz. And then the Tascam only gives you an error that basically says USB FS mismatch and just stops relaying your audio. So then you can manually match the Tascam again to the 96 kHz of the iPad and it will again start playing. But the moment you go back to a song that's not high-res lossless, it will switch back to 44.1 kHz and the Tascam does not adapt to it and again shows this error. So the consequence is basically that using the Tascam to just listening to music from your iPad with the really nice headphone preamp is just not practical, for example with an iPad. On a MacBook it luckily works fine because you can just set the output to 96 kHz for example, and it will just work, because I guess the Mac just converts everything to 96 kHz then, but on the iPad it's really unusable. As a side note, if you use the Portacapture X8 as an audio input to, for example, Logic Pro, it only exposes 96 kHz and 24-bit, which should be sufficient for most applications, but I just thought you should know. So 192 kHz is not available, neither seems to be 32-bit. Could be an issue with Logic, because I know that Logic cannot record in 32-bit, but I'm also not seeing 32-bit if I'm going to the audio and MIDI configuration of the Mac. So it seems to just plainly not be available using USB-C. So to summarize, I think this is an incredible recorder with a really good headphone preamp and I really like it. I'm gonna keep it for sure. However, I really don't like the way the audio interface functionality works and I wish Tascam could fix this with a firmware update. So would I recommend the Tascam to you? Well, I guess if you're buying this particular device, then you already know what's up with the 192 kHz and the 32-bit recording. If you don't know what that means, then definitely check out a few other videos on this device and figure out if you need this feature. I personally really like it and find it quite cool that it has this feature. But if you don't need it, then there are other solutions that provide a similar set of functionality just without the 32-bit float recording, which honestly then should be fine and you can save a bunch of money by buying one of those. If you found this video useful, then I would very much appreciate it if you would hit the like button below, and I invite you to subscribe to this channel if you're interested in more videos around tech, software engineering and productivity. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.